And it is now 7:01, so we will start the meeting. Good evening. It is August 18, 2020, and this is a meeting of the Shrewsbury Conservation.
Hi, David Sadowski is here.
All right, David, just mute your mic till we're ready for you. Again, good evening. It is August 18, 2020, and this is a meeting of the Shrewsbury Conservation Commission. As a preliminary matter, this is John Ostrowski, Chair of the Conservation Commission. Please permit me to confirm that all members and support staff are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Martha Gatch?
Here.
Jason Port?
Here.
Bob Jakes?
Here.
Ken Polito?
Here.
Support staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Brad Stone? Brad?
Here.
Okay. This open meeting of the Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirements of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of the public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Shrewsbury Conservation Commission is convening by video conference via Google Meet as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that the meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer unless asked by the chairperson or the staff person. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce each presenter of an agenda item. After they conclude their presentation, the chair will go down the line of members first and then to support staff.
Hello, this is David. I reached the Shrewsbury Conservation.
David, mute your phone.
My name is Dave Sadowski.
Mute your phone, David. We're in the
for
meeting.
some reason, I can't get my screen to work, so I thought I would call in.
All right. Well, just hang on, and we're going through our initial comments. The chair will introduce each presenter of an agenda item. After they conclude their presentation, the chair will go down the line of members first and then to support staff. And lastly, to the public for questions or comments. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Remember that unless a document is being shared, your camera feed is triggered by your speaking or background noise. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. The chair will ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify their names and addresses only. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. Finally, each vote taken by this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. All right, with the preliminary matters done, we'll move into our meeting agenda. The first item is to review and approve minutes, and we do not have any minutes to review or approve at this time. The second item is to sign bills. Brad, I take it we'll have the normal advertisements to sign off on. Brad?
Come on. Is it working now?
I hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll coordinate with Sherry if we have the legal ad bills ready or anything else that might need signing, and we can have you sign them when we do the signature pages for the decisions.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, moving on to item 3 of the agenda, meetings and hearings. We have a new public hearing, and Martha, would you please read the notice?
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Matthew Boiteau, 22 Greenbrier Drive, Shrewsbury, has filed a notice of intent to construct a deck at 22 Greenbrier Drive. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, August 18th.
Okay, do we have somebody? David, is this yours? David Sadowski, are you presenting? Matthew?
Yeah, hey, this is Matthew here.
Yeah, what's going on with David's?
I'm not sure. I think he's calling in on his phone, but I don't know if he can hear us, you know?
All right. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the next hearing right now, and we'll come back to this once he straightens his connection out.
Okay.
All right, Martha. The next one.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section
Hello?
40, that the town of...
All right, are you getting through?
David, is that you? David?
Hello? Yes.
All right. Yeah, we read your notice already. So why don't you go ahead and make your presentation while we have your connection on?
My call's all broken up.
We can hear you, David. Just make the presentation.
All right. The presentation is that we have an existing house with the deck that's in need of repair. The deck is located within 100 feet of a wetland zone. Right now, there's anchors in the ground that are support sonotubes. We're looking to replace the deck that's 10 by 16 by a 12 by 18 deck. When we do replace the deck, the stairs will be moved closer to the house, further away from the resource area. We won't be disturbing any ground in the resource area. Everything will be done by shovel if there's any work in the area at all. It's basically to replace the deck on the back. It's a primary mean of access into the building on the back side of the house.
Okay. The size, David, you said the existing one is 10 by 16?
The size of the deck is eventually going to be 12 by 16 with the 2 feet cantilever.
Okay. So in other words, total size is 12 by 18 then with the cantilever, or is it on the 12, 2 feet on the 12 side too? You said the existing deck was 10 by 16, I think, if I heard you right. David? Brother. Matthew,
Yes.
can you walk us through this? He's really...
Yeah, so the existing deck is 10 by 16. We're looking to replace it and make it 12 by 18.
Okay, overall dimensions 12 by 18. That's what
Correct.
Okay. And from what I got from David was the existing ones on sonotubes, and you're going to reuse the sonotubes.
Yes.
So really there shouldn't be any reason for ground disturbance. You're not grading out anything else at ground level, are you?
No. We're just basically making it longer and a little bit wider.
Okay. And Brad's put up a plan here, sort of small on the scale. How close is it to the nearest wetland line? Can you tell?
It's more than 30 feet. It's within that range. I'm not exactly sure what he had marked out back there. Oh, there you go. That's good. Yeah,
yeah,
there's
that's
a
good
right there.
That's a good shot. Yeah. All right. Let's go to some questions. Martha?
So as John had asked before, the sonotubes aren't changing. You're going to just increase the size of the deck, but use the same ground support.
Correct.
Okay, that's my question. Thank you.
Jason?
I'm all set.
Bob?
My only question is I'd like to pin down how close it is to the resource area. Brad, you may, I don't know if you have information about that, but it doesn't look to be 30 feet.
I don't think it's 30. Let me just pull the plan back up again.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was that 30 number. I'm just not, from what I was told, it's within, it's within a reasonable range.
Yeah, so I don't have a great way of scaling on the monitor, but just looking at it and the other dimensions there, I mean, it looks like it's less than 10 feet. But it's, if you look back at the picture,
9 feet.
so the wetlands are basically, it's a pretty steep slope to the stream. You can see kind of in the lower left of the picture here where I'm circling with the pointer. There's a wetland flag there, and the stream kind of runs through the vegetation there. So it's not far from the deck, that's for sure.
Yeah, Dave was just saying 9 feet. I have him on the phone right now.
That makes sense.
And is this an old delineation, Brad, or is this delineated as part of this NOI?
This was delineated as part of this NOI, and I did go out in the field to take a look at it.
Thank you. No more questions.
Ken?
I'm all set.
All right. Brad, do you have any further comment on this before we go to the public?
No, I'm all set.
Okay. Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing? All right, I don't hear any, so we will close the hearing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Martha, the second hearing.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that the Town of Shrewsbury, Department of Public Works, 100 Maple Avenue, Shrewsbury, has filed a request for an amended order of conditions for the installation of monitoring wells at 34 Ridgeland Road. A public hearing will be held on the above request at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, August 18th, 2020.
Jeff, are you making the presentation on this one?
No, I'm not. I'm here just if you have any questions. Weston and Sampson will be making the presentation.
Oh, okay. All right, Weston and Sampson.
Hi, John. So Lee Koska here for Weston and Sampson representing the town. Can you guys all hear me all right?
Yep, fine.
Excellent. So for a quick background on the project, the existing order of conditions to support the tank removal at 34 Ridgeland Road, which is adjacent to Jordan Pond, was issued in August of 2019. The actual removal activities were conducted in June of this year. The tank was identified following kind of an inventory of town-wide tanks, and this one was identified as being a candidate for removal since it wasn't currently in service. During the tank removal, evidence of a release of gasoline was identified, which triggered a 72-hour reporting condition to the Massachusetts DEP. The notification was given on the 17th of July, and as a result, DEP requested a number of immediate response actions to further assess the release, including the installation of the 4 monitoring wells. The work was proposed to begin in August, and so an emergency certification was issued by Brad with a start date of August 3rd. On that date, we went out and installed the 4 monitoring wells, which were roughly north, south, east, and west of the existing tank. All of the work was conducted within the buffer zone, and the wells were installed to approximately 15 feet below grade. The analytical results from soil and groundwater samples collected from those wells are pending, but based on what we saw during the actual removal excavations, residual gasoline and petroleum is likely to exist immediately adjacent to the actual pump station against its eastern wall. The work's been completed. The monitoring wells will need to remain in place until the site achieves regulatory closure under the Massachusetts contingency plan. Until we further assess the conditions out there, the date of removal for the wells is unknown at this time.
All right, Lee, isn't that a diesel fuel tank, not gasoline?
So there are a number of kind of differing records on that. From the old as-built from the 50s, it's depicted as gas. It may have been used for diesel at some point in its operational life as well. Our results seem to indicate that the majority of the contamination associated with it is from gasoline rather than diesel, but we have some of both.
Okay. Martha.
Yeah, I was just wondering, does it seem as though that leak was a result of that happened during the removal of the tank, or does it seem like it was older than that?
It was likely older than that. When we removed the tank, there was significant corrosion to the exterior wall, including numerous small pinholes. It's unknown exactly when the tank gave way as it was installed back in the 50s. But from what we saw of the contamination in the vicinity of the tank, it was definitely an older release.
And there's a sense of how far the leak went in the ground?
We have some preliminary data back, which indicates that, I don't know if you guys have the plan immediately accessible. I can share my screen if needed. But it seems like within about 20 to 25 feet of that tank, we at least have some evidence of impacts. Until we get the entirety of the data set back, we won't know for sure exactly how far it goes. It does seem likely that impacts are strictly to the east of the tank. We went and put in some wells closer to the residential properties that abut the site to the north and west, and didn't encounter any evidence of contamination based on our field observations going that way. So it appears to be localized in extent, which is good news.
Okay. Thank you.
You all set, Martha?
Mm-hmm.
Jason?
No questions.
Bob?
All set.
Ken?
All set.
Brad, anything to add?
I'm all set.
Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments regarding this hearing? All right, hearing none, we'll close the hearing.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, Martha, the third one.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Scott Bloomfield, 13 Atherton Road, Hudson, Mass. 01749, has filed a request for determination of applicability for the construction of a deck at 34 Oakland Avenue. A public meeting will be held at the on the above request at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, August 18th, 2020.
Okay, is there somebody representing this application tonight? Brad?
Sorry about that. I was muted. I apologize.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah, this is Scott Bloomfield.
Yep.
Great. All right, thanks, everyone. Looking to do is build replace a small balcony and a deck, and changing the deck dimensions slightly to be more conforming with the zoning laws and more usable and a better fit for the landscape limitations. The property is located an approximately a 50-foot wide lot on Lake Quinsigamon over on the Worcester side. I don't know if you know the area up near the kind of where the high school is, down that end. And the lot is this really steep bank that makes it next to impossible to get any large machines or digging construction. So the deck, any footings that the footings that will be put in will all be done by hand. There's no machines that can even get to the location. And it's important to note that there's an abandoned cesspool there that I permitted through the town, filled in all the, filled it all in to prevent any waste from flowing into the lake any further. And we have since put in a E1 pump that's going to pump the sewage back up the hill and into the town line there that they put in within a couple of years. So the reason I'm bringing the cesspool up is it's located directly behind the house. And I actually have a picture. I don't know if you want to share it or if you want to see it, or if I'll talk to it, I can show it afterwards if you want to. But because of where it's located, you can't put footings on top of the cesspool. So what we're proposing is just moving, it'll be closer to the lake. So the existing deck was about 3 by 33. We're going to make it smaller to be approximately 13 by 23 with the platform of the deck. And so it gets more conforming for the zoning, but it does go closer to the lake. But there's still about anywhere from 21 to 24 feet away from the lake. Okay. I think that's. Is any questions or that? Or you want me to bring up the picture and I can kind of show you?
Can you bring the picture up, Scott?
Sure. Absolutely. Okay. And how do I share it here? Present now. Entire screen. That works. It seems to work.
Yeah, it's coming up, Scott.
Perfect. So this is the back of the house. You can see the egress is here. There's 2 sliding doors that were here. This is the cesspool right here. And it extends out 11 feet, 6 inches. I think 11 feet, I think 6 or 7 inches from the back of the house. So what the proposal is just to put the footings just on the other side of that cesspool so it doesn't disturb it at all, and it stays there. And you can see this is where, this is kind of the inlet picture here. You can see where that cesspool is located. And that's all been filled in. You can see the pea stone and the gravel there. That's all been filled in, like I said, in favor of the E1 pump that is installed.
Now, Scott, you were saying you can't put the deck footings on the cesspool area. What would be, I mean, if it's filled in with gravel, why would that be true?
The building department said that I would need to, it'd have to go out. We'd have to dig down and put the footings inside of the gravel, right? So you can't dig it out. So it'll all have to be dug out. And okay. I don't think digging the cesspool is something I don't think anyone wants to do. And that's why you can't. Oh, you
didn't pump it out ahead of time?
No, it was pumped out. It was pumped out, but it's a cesspool. So, I mean, it was pumped out, but it's still, okay. I mean, it wasn't, I had it all inspected and they looked at it and we filled it all in. And so it was all pumped out and everything, but it was still a cesspool.
Okay. Well, let's go to questions. Martha?
I don't have any questions at this time.
Jason? Jason, you're muted.
Thank you, John. No questions at this time.
Bob?
No questions, thank you.
Ken?
All set.
Brad?
I don't have any questions with respect to the deck, but one of the concerns I did have going down to the deck site was the land behind the house. It's a pretty good sized slope and there is some erosion there. It looks like where there might be utility for the sewer pump that I saw down below. And maybe the owner can give some more insight, but let me just bring that up so we can see it.
Let me stop sharing.
Please, thank you.
Oh, let me,
You're all set, Scott.
okay.
So right up in there. So up top here is Oakland
Great.
Ave.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the trench that goes down towards the house. So I did have some concern there that that was going to continue to erode away, and just didn't know what your plans were to, or if you had any, to stabilize that.
Yes, I do. There's actually, they're going to put the rock walls in there. So what happened was when the trench was dug, when they filled it back in, there was a rainstorm that actually washed lava out. So that all has to be put in. We're going to put 2 walls. There's going to be one up near the road to stabilize that. It's going to be less than 4 feet, so it doesn't have to be engineered. And then there's going to be one further down. And then what we're going to do is plant all footing, like different shrubbery in there that's going to retain that ground that's in between the 2 walls. So that's the plan there. Totally agree. This house, when we bought it, was really rough shape. And so we've been slowly chipping away, and that's actually in process right now, starting to look at that. When was that photo recent?
Yes, that, hold on 1 second, make sure. Yep, so that photo was taken earlier this month, sometime after I get your application.
Perfect. Yeah, so within the next, I have a hard, what do they call it? Hard masonry place or something like that. Actually looking at that, and they're going to put the rock walls in there and cement it and do it all and put the drainage there, so it'll drain. And then what they're trying to do too is what we talked about was it's kind of pitched down towards the house from the road. The road's in really rough shape up there because it just kind of flows down. We're going to pitch that back kind of towards the road so it actually will flow down away from the house and the lake. Because obviously anything that flows towards the lake also flows towards the house. And when we purchased the house, it was, as we opened it up, there was a lot of things that we just kept opening, and there was rotted wood because of the drainage, I think, that was happening there. So yes, we are 100% need to fix that, and that is in the works.
Okay, so I guess my follow-up comment to that explanation, and I just quickly went to our GIS so I could remember the entire lot there. Except for the very portion near the road, the lot is almost entirely within the buffer zone. So to do that earthwork, do the retaining wall work, that's something that would have to come back before the Conservation Commission for. Plans on that slope for the walls, etc. You need to have another plan developed and come back before the Conservation Commission for that activity. And if there's anything else that you're thinking of in addition to that, I would suggest you talk to me ahead of time too, so that we can make sure everything gets lumped into one application and you're not repeatedly coming back to us, for instance.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So I talked to the building inspector, and this is my fault. And they said that it was under 4 feet, that I should be okay. So there is some rock wall that's being, just to be totally upfront with you guys, there is some work that's happening, and I will tell them to stop, and I will talk to you tomorrow, and we can work out a game plan to make sure that we stabilize the land, make sure we get all that taken care of.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay, just a question for you, Scott, on the new deck, which is it's shorter along the back side of the house to meet, I guess, side line setbacks for zoning, correct? Is that why it shrank?
Just because of where the landscape kind of works, it didn't need to be so big. You don't need, I mean,
it was like 33 feet, right?
Yeah, you don't need that big of a deck.
Right, so now it came down in that dimension, but it kicked out further toward the lake.
Correct.
To make up for it. And the actual footings again for this deck, what are they going to be again? I missed that part.
the 12-inch sonotubes.
Okay,
The 4-foot down, 12-inch the sonotubes, and they'll sit on top of those.
all right. And then no grading and all, you're gonna just set your sonotubes and this is going to,
Yep, because where that ends,
Yep.
the septic, you can put them right there, and they don't need any grading. It just kind of can go in there.
okay. All right. Any further questions from the commission at this point before we? All right, let's go to see if the public has any questions or comments on this request for a determination of applicability. All right, I don't hear anybody making a comment, so we will close this
Well-
hearing and do you want to?
Should I make a motion, Mr. Chairman? Is the
Yes, why don't
motion
you
in
make a
order?
motion right now?
I would move, Mr. Chairman, that we issue a negative determination with respect to this petition, but condition it on the submittal of a notice of intent for the repair of the erosion problem within 60 days of within 60 days.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, let's do a roll call. Martha?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Aye.
And John Ostrowski, aye. All right, Scott. You're all set.
Okay, what I didn't quite. What was that happened?
Okay, you put a request in for determination of applicability.
Okay.
And a negative determination is working in your favor. You can go ahead and do the work on the deck
Okay.
as you proposed. But all of the erosion issues in your yard and wall work will have to be submitted to the Conservation Commission in the form of a notice of intent. It's different
Okay.
from a request. That's a formal application. And as Bob said, it has to be done within 60 days. That notice of intent has to be filed.
It'll be filed tomorrow.
Okay, sounds
Awesome.
good. Okay,
Thank you so much.
you're welcome. Martha, number 4.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of general laws, chapter 131, section 40, that Michael Souza, 21 Bethany Road, Framingham, Mass. 01702, has filed a request for determination of applicability for the construction of a deck at 15 Crimson Drive. A public meeting will be held on the above request at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, August 18th, 2020.
Yes,
Okay.
guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, my name is Jefferson. As I did the application, my customer wants to build a deck. It's a 10 by 11. Does have an existing small balcony that is like a 4 by 4, and he wants to remove that small balcony and build a deck 10 by 11. And after we built the new deck, we're still gonna have 30 feet and 4 inches from the setback line, and all the footing is gonna be dig by shovel, and we not gonna use no machines, all by hands, and there's gonna be 10 inches sonotubes for the footings.
Okay. Martha,
I'm having trouble with the address because on the plans it says Hickory Drive, and I know Hickory and Crimson are close together, but I'm not finding Crimson.
Yeah, it's number 15 Crimson Drive.
Right. Can other members of the commission help me with this?
Brad, why don't you,
Brad,
I had the
share the
same
plan.
problem, Martha. I had the same problem. Brad can tell us.
Yeah, so if I recall, I haven't been out to this lot as part of this application, but I did look at the aerials and I am familiar with the lot already, haven't been there for the house construction. I believe it has its frontage on, let me just pull the plan up and share it with you. I think the driveway comes in off the address road and not its frontage road, so that's why the plan may show something different. So can you see what's on the screen, John?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so Hickory Drive, there's the lot frontage. This is all wetland through here. So I believe the access, actually you can see it on the plan. See up here towards the top, it says driveway and utility easement. So the driveway would be coming from Crimson. So that's why it has a Crimson Street address. That way you don't want to confuse the first responders. So that's why they do it that way. So it's got frontage on Hickory, but its driveway access is through Crimson.
Okay. And I'm sorry, would you mind please going through the plan of work again, because I'm not seeing it on the plan, and so I'm having a hard time following it. So I just need to hear it one more time.
Okay. The deck is gonna be 11 feet wide by 10 foot out, coming out from the back of the porch, coming out, and all the footing is gonna be digged by hands, by shovel, and then the steel is gonna have like a 30 foot by from the setback line to the property line. And I don't know if you have more questions.
So it's 30 feet away from the set.
Is exactly, yes. It's like it's a 30 feet and 4 inches away from the back of the line property.
All right, I'm all set then. Thank you.
You're welcome.
John, if you want, I can clear up that question on the plan.
Go ahead, Brad.
So this is the proposed construction right here.
Exactly, yes.
So the setback is referring to the property line. Additionally, I do have a plan that shows where the wetlands are. So here's the wetlands in this vicinity here. So it's not the setback from the wetlands, it's a setback to the property line that was referred to. The proposed construction is up in here, and then this is the resource area down in here. And the house is already, in terms of our guidelines and limits, the house foundation is already about 21 feet from the resource area. The additional construction up in here would not bring it any closer than it already is.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good, Brad. Jason.
No questions.
Bob.
All set.
Ken.
All set.
Brad, you're all set?
Yes.
Does anyone from the public have any questions or comments on this request for determination? All right, I don't hear any. We'll close the hearing. Bob, do you want to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to move that we issue a negative determination with respect to this petition.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? We'll do a roll call. Martha?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
And John Ostrowski, aye. Okay, you're all set.
Great. Thank you very much, guys.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, Martha, number 5.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Verizon Wireless, 118 Flanders Road, Westboro, Mass. 01581, has filed a notice of intent to construct a telecommunications facility southeast of the existing ball field at 378 Main Street. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, August 18th, 2020.
All right, do we have a representative tonight? I see Alex had signed in.
Hi, my name is Audra Klum with A&D Klum Environmental. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Very good. I put the notice of intent together and will be representing the project this evening.
Okay.
And I can give you a brief overview. So the telecommunications tower, as was previously described, is to be installed off of the practice ball field for the school. And the access road will follow an existing access road, and I can see if I can present it. And of course, that's my first time doing that, so give me a minute here. Doesn't want to, no, there we go. Put that one. All right, let me know if you're able to see that all right.
We are not seeing anything yet, Audra.
All right, hold on. It may not work.
It's coming up now.
Oh, is it coming up now?
Yep.
Okay. All right, here it comes.
Yep, it's up.
Excellent. So this is the beginning of the access road where it comes off of Main Street, and it follows along the existing access drive. And I've got wetlands that I delineated on the property here, and then over here on either side of the drive. And then the access continues across the culvert for the wetlands, and then there's a I don't know if I can zoom in a little bit.
Is there a way to blow that up at all, Audra?
Yeah, I'm trying to do that. Yep. Is that any better?
No change. Oh, here it comes. Yep, perfect.
Okay, good. So at this point, you can see the wetland, the B wetland line is over here. It's wider, farther to the east, and it narrows down to a little channel. Not really a channel, but like a narrow passageway before it joins into the culvert, and then it crosses under the culvert into the C wetland, and then continues westerly. The existing overhead utility line leads to an existing utility pole right here, and then the proposal is to replace that pole and then also have underground utilities along the proposed access road through the field, so along the side of the field. You can see the tree line that's the existing tree line there, and the the utilities and the access drive will follow along the existing tree line and then turn south to go to the tower site. So we show the wetland buffer is the larger dashed line right in this area here. So that impacts to the buffer will be for the underground utilities at the pole and then through here, as well as the access road. Then there's a break, and then it hits the buffer again in this area and then leaves the buffer at that point. And then it goes down to the tower site, and we're outside the buffer at that point. I can show some photographs to you if you would like. Let's see. Everything runs a bit slower when I'm running a bunch of operations at once, unfortunately. It doesn't want, there we go. All right, so not too much to see, but you've got some wetland photographs here. This is the bottom one is leading into the culvert. There's the double culvert that's existing. This is the existing access drive. Below the bottom picture is leading towards the practice field. The top photograph on this section shows the existing utility pole that will be replaced. The bottom one shows the proposed location of the underground utilities and access road where they lead easterly through the buffer before turning south. That's all. Oh, and I do have the other ones. So this one, the top one is the view back, looking back west along the proposed access and utilities. And then the last one is the location of the proposed tower site. That was the wetland thing. So do you have any questions?
Just when you're talking utilities, are you just talking about bringing power to this site with overhead lines?
So the utilities would be the power, as well as I believe they run the coax through the backhaul back to the and I can have other folks speak to that who have more knowledge in that part of it.
Okay.
I think we got a couple of folks here. Dave, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. This is Dave Tibnan. I'm the real estate consultant for Verizon Wireless. So we'll be running both power and fiber from that pole that we're replacing, proposed to be underground all the way to the tower compound.
Okay, so from the pole it goes underground.
Correct, and it's both power and fiber.
Okay. All right, Martha, do you have any questions?
So I looks like some of the access road is built. Will you be building additional roadway?
Yeah, where I show, so there's existing access to the field right now, but then there's no access road around the field to get to the tower site. So from once you get onto the field, that will be where the access road is constructed around the north side of the field, then the east side of the field down to the tower site.
And what will the surface of the road be?
I think it's proposed as gravel.
Gravel, okay. And when you're installing the utilities close to the tree line, how close to the tree line are you going?
You mean like
again? This is Dave Tibnan again. I don't know if Jose is on the line. I believe a few trees might have to be taken down to go at the very beginning, but then the landlord wants us to follow the tree line as closely as we can. And just for clarification, I believe Eric Ring from St. John's may also be listening in this evening, but we actually don't plan on putting in any kind of gravel road. The high school would prefer the grass to be maintained. We might ruin some grass during the construction phase, and we only have like a once a month site visit. So we actually don't intend to improve the access, just have a legal access easement, if that answers your question.
It does, yes, thank you. The question that I have about the trees is, will you be disturbing the root zone?
We don't intend to. I think we're going to stay just outside the canopy line.
Okay, thank you. I'm all set.
Jason.
My questions have been answered. Thank you.
Bob.
I'm a little confused. Can you show me what is the point of what is the termination of the existing access road?
Hold on, let me get the.
I would say it's just after the culvert. It's gravel, so you can drive in, but then it's gated, so they park their cars prior to the culvert, and then it's primarily, the students and athletes. They walk in. There's access on the backside for mowing equipment, things of that nature, but they could also get in from down below as well. But cars generally don't go in much past the culvert. Okay, so no work between Main Street and the culvert. No work is intended. Is that correct? That's correct. Other than the replacement of that utility pole. That's correct, and that's on the south side of the culvert, away from Main Street. No, there's one on the north side that says proposed 40-foot utility pole. That's true. That's right. There's two poles being replaced. That's correct. Okay, right. And as far as as everything south side of the culvert, you're not intending any road construction at all. You're going to simply use the existing grass area, and you'll trench for your utilities, and that'll be it. Is that correct? That's correct. Okay, thank you.
Ken.
My questions have been answered.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a question on that road again. We talked about the gravel road initially, then went over to the grass, using the grass surface. Once a month access, what happens in the winter and spring when you have less than favorable ground conditions? What kind of vehicles are you bringing in there to check this? Or would you be walking in at that point? I'm not sure what kind of equipment you need.
The Celtec do drive four-wheel drives, but they'd be hiking it. I believe that gate's going to be locked and closed once the site's built.
A lot of the newer sites that Verizon Wireless is now constructing, most of the upgrades are actually done remotely. They're also monitored remotely. So the site visits used to be once a month, will probably be much less common going forward with a newer site like this. So it might really be once every 6 months, is what I should have said.
Okay. And they could walk in if their, conditions are unfavorable, it sounds like.
Absolutely. We have sites that are on, mountains and, with limited access. I mean, no access whatsoever in the winter.
Right. And what kind of a height are we talking about for this tower?
We haven't gone to the planning board yet, but we're proposing 120 feet high.
Okay. Because you're pretty much down at the bottom of the hill at that point, so you don't gain any natural elevation with that location. But
true.
But that's still, that 120 feet will still work for them then.
That's correct. I'm not an RF engineer, but it's height's not everything. In fact, with the densification of our network, sometimes we have what we call puddle sites, which basically link the sites that are overactive now. So the handoff is consistent, and the customers, don't lose calls or data speeds.
Oh, okay. All right. The actual building for the tower, I mean, it must have some, there's a house to house some of the equipment. Just out of curiosity, I know that's not in the buffer zone. It doesn't look like from the plan. It looks like it's out of the buffer zone. What size and type of building do you guys usually have for this kind of an installation?
Our newer macro sites just have outdoor cabinets that look relatively much like a refrigerator.
I think we just...
And I'm sorry?
We have a plan up here, but we're losing your audio. Go ahead, Rich, you clear it up now.
The newer sites generally have outdoor cabinets, so we don't put the buildings like we used to.
Oh, okay. The transformer pad.
A transformer pad, perhaps a generator, and some outdoor cabinets, which look like refrigerators.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. All right. Brad, do you have any comments?
So a few things. The first one is I don't think we've received a file number yet from DEP for this. So I would recommend keeping this open until we've got something from them. Because recently we have been getting a lot of comments from them. So it would be helpful before we try to make any decisions that we've at least gotten the file number and comment sheet from them. The other thing I was going to say is I had not had time to go entirely through the stormwater report. And I do remember looking at the plans and seeing the gravel drive and some of the components like the bioretention swale, things of that nature. What I'm hearing tonight, though, is that it's not going to be a gravel drive. It's going to be grass. What I would suggest is any of the changes from what we have in front of us now, revise the plans and present them to us before the continued hearing, for instance, and that way you could finalize the decision on what you have in front of you. I just don't like to condition something that's not on the plan sheet these days. We're running into problems with that. So if it intends to be grass, it should be shown grass, and then any modifications in addition to that, something that might impact the stormwater report, for instance, should be reflected there as well.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm absolutely thrilled that this location compared to, for instance, crossing Westbrook across the street. So I'm much more excited about seeing this here.
Okay, no, that's good. And,
great, thank you.
And when those plan revisions get made, you should get them to Brad as soon as you can, prior to the meeting.
Will do.
And also get it over to DEP too, because they do a co-review, and you don't want them looking at the outdated plan and making comments. That would put us off another month.
Yep, we'll do that. Thank you.
Okay. All right, let's see if there's anybody in the public with any questions or comments tonight. Do we have any questions or comments from the public? I don't hear any, so we will continue this hearing until our next meeting, which will be September 22. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Yep. Martha, would you please read the
notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that 6 Kings Point Drive Realty Trust, 180 Barstow Lane, Tallinn, Connecticut, 06084, has filed a notice of intent for the demolition and reconstruction of a single-family house, retaining walls, and associated site work at 6 Kings Point Drive. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, August 18th, 2020.
All right, John, are you presenting?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of John Salem, I am presenting a notice of intent for, as was stated in the notice, the reconstruction of a new house located at 6 Kings Point Drive. 6 Kings Point is off of South Quinsigamond Ave. It's a peninsula that runs to the south off of South Quinsigamond Ave, and it's the last lot on Kings Point. As it's a peninsula that kind of juts out into the lake. It's a 19,000 square foot lot. I think I can, if I present, I can. Okay, can everybody see that?
Not yet.
No.
It should come up any second now. Let me know when you got it.
We don't see anything yet, John.
I have to hit share, I believe. Would you like to? Oh, there we go. It was being a little finicky on me. How about now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Again, this is the southernmost lot on Kings Point Drive. As you can see, it's runs like a peninsula out onto Lake Quinsigamond Ave. It's a 19,000 square foot lot. This was the home of John Salem's parents. As you can see, this is where the existing home is on the lot now. There is an existing deck that is at the southerly point of the lot that is right on the lake, and it's about 7 feet. The edge of the structure for the existing deck is about 7 feet off of the edge of the wall on the lake. The existing home is also serviced for sewage just right now by a cesspool. They did extend sewage with force mains onto Kings Point for all of the other lots, and there is a stub located right in this area so that any new home can be tied in. And also obviously there's no stormwater management at all on this. Anything that runs off of the existing driveway runs down towards the lake. Anything off of the house runs onto the lake. So what we are proposing is Mr. Salem is proposing to construct a new home for himself. It's approximately in the same location as the existing home that was there. It's a non-conforming lot because of, as you can see, the shape of it it doesn't have adequate frontage. He was also before the zoning board to get relief for offsets for yard setbacks. And what has been a key factor in the location of the new home is to try to maintain some of the similar or offsets to the abutting properties. To the north are the Roonies, and to the east are the Knolls. So to try to maintain some of the same separations to the abutting properties as the location of those homes. It is fairly tight down there. Everybody can kind of see each other. So he's trying to maintain some of the privacy that is currently there now. So with the new home, access, as you know, would be off of Kings Point. There's a driveway parking area located right here. There's a 2-car garage located on the easterly side. The main house would be located here. For stormwater management, we would be capturing all of the roof runoff and putting them into a series of recharge chambers. Just like every other lot on the lake, it's good sands and gravels. So we'd be capturing the front portion of the roof, putting into downspouts and putting recharge chambers in the front yard. There's another series in the rear yard over here. And then on the rear, on the easterly side behind the garage, we'd be capturing a small portion of the garage, so we get everything and putting into another chamber over here. As I said, it will be tied in to the town sewer via a pump chamber. And we are proposing to have a disconnect so that if for some reason they were to lose power, they do have a disconnect on that so that they could provide generator power for sewage, so there wouldn't be any issues should there be a loss of power for any extended length of time. There would be the closest point to the lake. As I said, in the existing condition, they're about 7 feet off of the lake with a deck. The closest point to the lake would be 13 feet to a proposed deck, and the main house skirts along the 30-foot offset to the lake. If he's unable with his house plan to push it closer to Kings Point, because there's a front yard setback off of Kings Point that would be in this area. If he were to push it closer towards Kings Point, he would be within the front yard setback to Kings Point. So that was another item that was kind of driving the location of the house beyond trying to maintain privacy. Other items associated with the proposed redevelopment, he would have some walkways, he would have a small patio area on the southwest side with a patio area with a fire pit. He would have a series of a patio in this area with steps down to the backyard. So he's obviously looking to take advantage of the outdoor living aspect of the lake and access to the lake. One other item that I'd like to point out is at the end of the season, in order to bring in his boat lift and his dock, with the height of the wall that is there, it's difficult to raise that equipment out of the lake, and it can be dangerous. So he's looking to, we show an area here where he's looking to lower the elevation of the wall so that come the end of the boating season and the summer season, he can lift out his boat lift and take the dock out and be able to get it out of the lake at the end of the season. So, but that would just be, we're showing that proposed break in the wall, but it would actually be just a lowering of the elevation of the wall so that he can take out, as I said, his boat lift and the dock at the end of the season. Also, as part of his redevelopment, he's looking at doing quite a bit of landscaping. He has a number of trees and plantings, both along the patios, on the southwesterly side, on the southern and along the southerly side. beyond the limit of the decks and patio. So he's going to be doing quite a bit of landscaping in these areas. He will be maintaining in areas that are away from the development. He will be maintaining some of the existing trees along the water, both on the westerly side and on the southeasterly side. There's, I believe that's a pine tree, but I'm not 100% sure. There's a large 42-inch tree there that will be maintained. So I believe that's, as well as capturing all of the roof runoff, he will also be capturing the driveway runoff. There's, that would be pitched to a dry well. So he will be capturing all of the impervious areas as part of this redevelopment, not just the roof, but the driveway. And so we think that he's really, with the redevelopment, it's bringing the site up to current building standards in terms of stormwater management, recharge of roof runoff, tying it into town sewer, and really beautifying the property from, it was a family home. It had been, you know, maintained, but not really to the degree that it would be upgraded with the new development of the site. So with that, if anybody has any questions or comments, should I keep the screen sharing up or?
Yeah, why don't you do that, John? We'll
Okay,
go into
let
the
me keep that
questions.
Okay, so I put it to the chair with any questions or comments.
Okay, Martha?
So John, I'm always, you know, I'm always looking at this from the perspective of, you know, wildlife accessibility, that this is a significant amount of lake frontage here. Can you tell me more about that gravel apron? You said it would lower the wall, but what would be the final height of the wall in that area?
Well, Martha, originally I was anticipating that they were going to remove that section of wall, but in further discussions with my client, he's going to, right now, I'd have to look at the elevation of the lake is at about, it says 358.6. That's the flood zone elevation. And so, and the top of the wall is somewhere around 361-ish. So you're looking at about, well, three feet or so. So he'd probably bring that down a couple of feet. So he's not going to remove the wall. In our further discussions, he's not going to remove the wall, but he is going to lower it just so he doesn't break his back when he tries to bring in the boat lift at the end of the season.
So there's going to be a drop in the wall.
There'll be a drop in the wall, but he's not going to remove the wall.
Okay. Well, it would be nice. I like the gravel apron idea, just because it does give some accessibility and be easier for him to get things in and out of there too. What's the square footage of impermeable surface in the proposed plan versus the existing plan?
You know, that is a good question. John Salem, are you on the call?
I am. Hi, everybody. Mr. Chairman, committee members. When you expand the house, the expansion of the house is going on existing hard surfaces, and all we're really doing is we're adding a small patio to the southwest. Actually, that's not going to be impermeable. That's going to be a permeable stone. So if you want, any way you want to look at that, it's going to be a permeable stone, and it's going to be a small deck area. That's probably a patio area. That's going to be probably 20 by 20 to the southwest. And I'm just guessing here.
And Martha,
Does that answer your question, Martha?
I'm looking at the existing condition and yeah, let me thumb up for you a little bit. Here with the location of the house, this is all driveway right here on the easterly side. So that's quite a bit of impervious area. There's also a brick patio, and this is concrete walkway. And again, there's other brick walkways here going down towards the steps from both the front and the back. So we are reducing the area of the driveway because it's only this area right in here. The footprint of the garage is pretty much in the same area where the paved driveway is. And of course, there are some patios and whatnot. So in my estimation, there isn't a little bit of an increase, but I don't think it's significant. And again, we're capturing all of the roof runoff between the downspouts and the driveway, and we're recharging all of that into the ground.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I was taking a look at your landscaping plan too, and I just want to make note that typically I don't see annuals listed on landscaping plans, and you've got some beautiful wave petunias in there, which are not perennials. So just so nobody's expecting that they're not going to have to plant some more flowers.
I've got a list here of plantings that includes 352 plants. And my discussion with my landscaper was, this is all, is a perennial every year?
Perennial comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're only planting once and maintaining.
But I think what her point is, the way petunia might be annuals.
Oh, there may be some, but this is going to be as low maintenance and as natural as a landscaping plan as we can make.
Yep, and most of them are that, but just don't expect your petunias to last from one year to the next.
You need to talk to my wife on that.
I think she knows what I'm talking about.
Yep. Understood.
She does.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm all set.
Jason.
I don't really have a question at this moment. More of a concern to somewhat follow up on Martha's question, the amount of impermeable surfaces. I don't know if, John, I understand what you're saying, but I don't think it's a slight increase looking at the plan. And I am generally concerned about the amount of work within the buffer, including, I don't know how many square feet of the house is going to be sitting in the buffer, but I have a general concern of the amount of the work that's going to take place in the buffer and the house being in the buffer. But we shall see what other members have to say.
Do you have a question, Jason?
No, I have no question.
Here's, if I could kind of add to something like this. This house was built in 1964, and there are no rain gutters. There's no sewer. You're talking gravel bank and pea stone at a fairly, this is the existing house that drains down basically to the water. And what we are going to do, or with your permission, obviously, is we're managing all the stormwater. We're actually lowering the grade significantly of these gravel banks and planting we have a significant landscaping plan to capture to prevent all this water drain off. And when you look at from where we're going to where we're going from to where we're going to, it's going to be a big improvement. There are going to be some, concerns, but we've got a builder that, you know, is a highly reputable builder, and we're going to do everything to abate any kind of runoff or water during the construction process. I mean, John can grant you that.
And I appreciate what you're saying. I do. However, you know, you're still building a very large house and doing a lot of work within the buffer zone. So while I appreciate you saying that you're cleaning up the site and taking care of the site and mitigating some runoff, you know, you could do all that by still building a house not going within the 30-foot buffer. We're building out all these patios. And again, so I don't have a question. I'm just generally speaking of a concern that you're doing a whole lot of work within the buffer and you're placing your new house in the buffer.
Mike, are you on? Mike McGovern? I don't know if you want to comment about that.
We can't push it if we go into the buffer.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I could certainly address the way what I addressed with zoning when they approved this plan as to why the house is located where it is. You know, if this would help, Jason, could I address why the house is located where it is?
Well, you can, but it's still not going to address my concern, right? You know,
right.
the concerns of zoning are not the concerns of the Conservation Commission.
Yeah.
They're completely different. So,
Jason, let me just jump in here for a second. I think I hear what you're saying. You're more concerned about the overall size of the new construction versus what the replacement. You know, the old house was significantly smaller, you're saying, in terms of disturbance to that peninsula.
Well, yes, I think, John, that is a very fair point. I think the amount of work within the buffer and the placement of these additional, impermeable or not,
right,
these additional structures within the buffer and the house now in the buffer, and it is a sizable disturbance across the entire peninsula. Again, I appreciate what the owners are trying to do.
Yep.
By cleaning up the runoff, but this is a sizable project, and a good chunk of it is taking place in the buffer.
Yep.
John, Mike McGovern, I was asked to comment.
Go ahead.
I do agree there is sizable impacts, but there's a lot of pre-existing. I think that bringing everything up to meeting all the new requirements, all the regulations, I hate to bring so much attention to a size of a home. It's more of what the true impact is to the resource area. I think we've done a great job explaining how we're going to mitigate a lot of, if not all, the runoff and replantings. And so there should be some not concerns, but you know, considerations. Yeah, some considerations.
Mike, I'll say this, I appreciate you making those points, and again, I appreciate what the owners are trying to do, but they could also do all of that in a smaller footprint. So, you know, again, I'm just raising a concern. Those are my concerns. I am one of 5 members.
Understood.
Okay, you all set, Jason?
I'm all set.
Okay, let's move on to Bob.
Well, you know, Jason has said it all. We have a fairly firm 30-foot setback from the resource area that I personally try to respect in my decisions. And I see that that line being crossed quite substantially here. And I don't, even though the proposal includes a lot of improvements that are frankly specified in regulation, a smaller footprint would require those same improvements. So I just don't see a compelling reason why this 30-foot limit that we stand by should be compromised. That's my comment.
Okay, Bob. Ken?
My comment is, I think the new building is substantially the same as what's there now. I see many improvements that are going to be happening on this lot. The lot as it is now, there are no stormwater management improvements. There are nothing to mitigate runoff or anything like that. The only thing I would comment on is lowering of the wall. I think you should look at that. There are a lot of waves and other things that happen during the course of the day that I'm sure you're aware of. So I would just caution you on how much you would lower that wall.
I'd like to respond to that. That's a very observant question. Actually, what I'm planning on doing is lowering the wall, but other than in the spring and in the fall, there will be a temporary barrier put up between the opening and the wall to raise that wall up to the original height to block off any waves that come and hit that opening. It would basically be angle iron on the side with some type of movable barrier that would create a temporary wall that would protect the area behind it. And we'd only be lowering the wall and opening up that area once in the fall and once in the spring to put docks in and out.
That's a good idea to do.
Which would address the wave problem. As you may know, the waves can be pretty significant at that area.
Well, that'll be needed. You know, and so my concern about the 30-foot setback is that, you know, it's constrained by the lot. I mean, it's on a peninsula, so the lot is surrounded by water on all the way around it, except for one little area. And also, the original house was closer to one area of the lake than this one decided now. Those are my points.
I mean, I'd like to just briefly address the size of the house and the design of the house. Just to reiterate, we are moving the existing deck back about 7 feet. So at the point closest to the water, we're actually moving the house. That closest point is actually coming back about 6 or 7 feet. And a lot of planning over the past year has gone into the design of this house. And the reason why it's put where it is, and it is slightly over the setback in some areas, but again, we're trying to compromise here. We're moving some of the farthest points that are close to the water back, is we're trying to come up with a plan that that works with all the neighbors. If we move the house to the north or the northwest, we would be with the garage. We would be in the setback to the neighbors to the east, to the north. And if we move the house further back to the north, you have to understand the terrain. The house to the north of us, the Rooney's, is another non-conforming lot that is right on top of my property line. In some instances, their house is 4 feet from my property line. So if we move the house to the north, our house is elevated and their house is lower, and we would be looking right down into their patio area. We want to maintain a green buffer between the two houses. We want to maintain some privacy, and that's why you see a couple of areas in the south outline that are going over the setback area. The other thing that we wanted to keep in mind is the house does have an elevator, and by having the addition to the west, the elevator brings us down to the lower floor, and it gives me better access to the lake. As years go on, that elevator and the access to the waterfront from the southwest would allow me troubles with walking. So that's kind of why we set it where it was. And if you looked at the, well, you can't really see it on this plan, but if you looked at the lot, you would notice that any movement to the north would eliminate a green buffer between us and the Rooneys in the north, and also eliminate any privacy where I'd be looking right down on their patio. Again, you've got two non-conforming lots, and the non-conforming lot to the north is much closer to the property line than I am to the property lines with any of my proposed plans. Thank you. Any questions?
Ken, are you all set? Ken?
Yes, I'm all set, thanks.
Okay. Brad?
Can you hear me, John?
Yep.
Okay. So just a few things. First of all, this is another project that we don't have a DEP file number for yet. So I would caution to not close this one tonight for that reason as well. Comments on the plan. John Grenier, can you stop sharing so I can bring something up, please?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Is that good?
Yeah, thank you. So I just, Mr. Chairman, can you see the image okay?
Yes.
Okay. So this shot right here is roughly in that area that showed on the plan that proposed gravel access where the wall would be removed. So my initial concern with just removing the wall there, as the plan showed, was that it is a pretty steep slope. It's 2 to 1. It's a pretty good sized wall. As Ken had mentioned, concerns with the lake activity, and actually here's another shot of the wall there. And kind of that's what it looks like roughly in that area. So my short time there, it was a pretty high traffic area. So I'd certainly be concerned, one, with the slope, and two, with removing the wall entirely because of the reasons of the slope and the wave activity. Also, it is, the wall technically is bank. So any alteration of the wall may, depending on how far down it's being brought, may be a bank alteration. So that should be reflected and updated in the notice of intent if necessary as well. And I would want to see some really detailed specifications of what plans to be built there for the new wall, as well as how that additional item that was mentioned would be placed and removed seasonally above the wall as well. In addition to that, I do want to see some details on the other retaining walls that are proposed. And I think I heard also, I believe I heard that the patio was going to be porous, so that, you know, any detail indicating that on the plan should be added as well. So those were really my concerns. I think everybody else has already touched on the 30-foot limit. But other than that, I'm all set.
Okay. Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing tonight? All right, I don't hear any. So lacking a DEP file number and the potential for them to come back in with some comments, John Salem, would you be willing to extend this until our next meeting and also clear up some of the requests for additional information from the members and Brad?
Mike McGovern, do you have any comments on that?
I think that's a good idea to continue it to the next meeting.
Okay.
Agree.
DEP may have a few comments.
Okay, sounds good. So this public hearing will be continued until our next meeting, which is September 22nd.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks.
And we'll get that information in.
Yep, yeah, get it in as quick as you can, John, okay?
Okay. Thanks. Appreciate your time.
Yep, thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay, that takes care of our meetings and hearings. And we're on to Discuss and sign order of conditions. So no signing, but we can discuss and vote on them. Which ones tonight, Bob, would we have?
Mr. Chairman, would move that we issue an order of conditions to Matthew Watto for the construction of a deck at 22 Greenbrier Drive.
And do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, we'll do a roll call. Martha?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
And John Ostrowski, aye. Okay, and
I further move, Mr. Chairman, that we issue an amended order of conditions to the town of Shrewsbury for the installation of monitoring walls at 34 Ridgeland Road.
do we have a second on that one?
Second.
All in favor? Let's do a roll call. Martha?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
And John Ostrowski, aye. And that does it, Bob, I think.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, go on to certificates of compliance. Brad, you want to take us down the list?
Sure. So let's start with 198 South Consigment Avenue, and let me bring up some pictures of that. So I don't have the plan available to show you, but the commission may recall that this was for the construction of retaining walls, and the order of conditions also was for the construction of a new home. And what it seems to me is that the retaining walls have been constructed and the old home is still in place. So a lot of the land near the walls looks pretty stable, but I just want to continue through some of these pictures and show you the rest of the site. So this particular one here, what really concerns me with the site at this point is the amount of material and the grade that it's at immediately down gradient of the house. The 100-foot buffer zone on this particular lot goes to the far side of the house. So it's you know, somewhere between or right at the other edge of the house towards the South Consigment Ave side. So all of this is still within the buffer zone. There's some more so there's a closer shot of it right there. So I'd be pretty hesitant about closing out an order with something that looks like this here. And the other question I did have, well, a couple of things with the site. The certification letter that we got was really just for the wall location. So we got a letter from the consultant that basically said the walls were constructed according to the plan, not the overall order of conditions that we normally look for. So one of the things, I did notice some plantings were done. I don't know if all of the ones required on the plan set are there. You know, you can see a lot, some at the base of the walls. There were some trees planted up in this area. The plan spec'd for quite a number of plantings. I wasn't here for that proceeding, so I'm kind of looking at it after the fact. But we'd have to verify that everything's in place that was on the plan as well. The owner, I believe, is present at this meeting. The other concern I had would be whether or not they intend to go ahead and replace that home, because if that's the case, then you'd certainly want to keep the order open at this time. If not, if the home is intended to remain there, then really the outstanding issue is to just verify that the plantings are there and what's really going to happen with this exposed dirt that's there still, because I think that should be addressed before the commission issues a certificate of compliance.
All right. Is the owner present here?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Is it your name, Joshua?
No, actually, I'm using my son, his email address my name is Riznardo Chavero.
Okay. Okay. And can you clear up some of the questions Brad has relative to what's the final plan for all the earth at the top of the upper retaining wall, and also what's your intent with the home?
Sure.
Go ahead, tell us.
Well, I think actually we're supposed to be answering all those questions. My my land surveyor, my engineer, but I couldn't get him to go into this meeting today. But what I was looking to do is I guess I did the wall. What's the plan require, you know? And I understand with the Brad point. I do have a very high bank from the third wall, the top wall, the last wall before they go to my property. So I got a very high, like probably a 12-foot high wall there. But I don't see, I did plant, some of the plant was required by the plant, when a plan, you know, that they designed for. But I just don't have the room to put a more plant. So in order to, put a more plant there, I have to remove some more material. And I don't want to do that till I get, some concern, someone tell me something. But right now at this point, I cannot do anything in there, anything else in the front of the water there. I mean, I got a grass over there, on the second bank, everything's been planted. I got a couple oaks, red oak trees that are very expensive. I mean, I plant on both sides of the property and the other neighbors, one on the left, one on the right. And I think that's the best what I can do right now. But you guys make the call, see what's the next step will be. I got a lot of compliment though for everybody in the water. They come and park the boat on the front. They said it's beautiful wall. I mean, this has looked much better. I spent over $300,000 in the front there, but I'm able to dress whatever you guys require. I mean, I'm not going nowhere. I'm stay here.
No, I realize that. Yeah, no, this is pretty simple. I mean, you have the order of conditions to do all the work, and now what you're requesting is a certificate that all the work's been done. But
correct.
But what Brad's saying is the letter he got from your engineer only certified the wall locations were correct, but didn't address any of the other elements of the work. So you're going to have him certify that all of the work, the plantings, because the plantings were per your plan. We didn't tell you, how to landscape it. You told us what you were going to do, and we gave you approval. So somebody has to do the work according to the plan, or come back for an amendment. That would be the only other thing you could do if you were going to change, the scope of the work. So tonight, I don't think we have any choice but not to issue a certificate of compliance. You understand that. And one of the big concerns, though, what I could see from Brad's picture is there's a lot of raw earth, like you said, a big mound up at the top of the wall, the upper wall. And that could be unstable in, heavy rainstorms, going into the spring. And that could create problems all the way down the slope for you. You have a beautiful wall and you've done a nice job so far, but that upper area has to be addressed. And the question you didn't answer is, are you planning on building a new house up there, or are you?
I am actually. I'm waiting for, that's my first step. My second step is doing the house next year. They demolish the house and go for the next,
Yeah.
That's my plan. Actually right now I got approved already, because on my plan with the building department,
yeah,
one of the plan already have the foundation size for the house, meet all the building codes with the space, the setback and everything. He's already been approved, and they already look at my wall. Alex came.
Yeah.
They inspected my wall. They already signed off, and I already got a sign off from the building department wall.
Well, that's good. No, that's good. All good news. But are you living in the house right now? Because it looks like if you had heavy spring rain, you could lose your foundation. It could get undermined. That slope goes on you. It's almost vertical at the back of the house. And if you're
Yeah.
living in it, you know, and it goes, you know, that house is coming down with it.
Yeah, that's one of the problem having is where the high bank is all gravel. So I did try a higher combat to hydroseed, but everything washed down. Doesn't wash to the water though, because I got the walls there now and it doesn't go to the water.
Yeah.
But nothing's gonna grow over there. That's my concern. It's nothing growing it. That's just gravel. So
right.
So that's why I was gonna try to get this approved. I didn't know the issue about they didn't apply with the right paperwork. But I'm looking forward to apply for a permit probably in the middle of the year to demolish the house and build a new house.
Yeah, you should definitely pursue that pretty quickly because that really looks tenuous, the current condition. But I don't personally see how we could sign off on the certificate tonight. So have your engineer certify that all the work is done per the plan, and if it's not going to be done for whatever reason you're claiming, you would have to come back for an amended order, an amendment to the order. But that takes time. You know, you got to file again, and we have to review it and vote on it. So the easy way out is just to do the work per your approved plan, if that is at all possible, and then get a sign off, and we can clear you. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, real quick, just if I may, I mean, going back to one of my earlier concerns, it seems like the intention is to still do the house that's there. So really, it's just an improper time to request a certificate of compliance.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be more beneficial to the owner and applicant to keep that order open. Otherwise, you can't do any work on that building in terms of demoing it or doing a new one unless you file a new notice of intent, get another order of conditions, and come back to the commission.
But
so
his timeline was being spread out here because he mentioned initially, you know, that he wouldn't be doing it until next year. And I mean, if that were the case, this house should probably come down, Brad. That slope, as you said, is unbelievable. And at a minimum,
well, my concern is if you lose some more of that material, you're going to run into frost problems affecting the foundation as well.
Oh yeah, it could get undermined. The whole thing could collapse, actually. But did the original order of conditions call for the new home on the site, or was that just for the demolition of the old one in the walls at this point?
No, a new home is part of the order of conditions.
Okay, so we approved the location and size and everything. Yeah, that
Correct.
doesn't make any sense if you can go in and get that work done, like you said afterwards, that you were hoping to demolish by soon this year. Correct? Did I hear you right?
Yes, actually, I'm trying to buy. Actually, I'm working right now to buy a property next door, the condo on the left.
Okay.
And look like we're gonna be doing the close in about 60 days. And if I get the property, I'll be applying for the permit to demolish the house immediately.
But what's that got to do with the current lot you're on, the condo next door? I mean, that's.
Well, I'm trying to buy a property, so I can move out. I gotta find a place.
Oh, okay. I got you. So you are living in that house right now?
I am on this house.
Yeah, okay. You're in that house right now. Okay. So the condo was going to give you a place to go to.
Yeah, that's what I'm working with, the buy or rent
like
from
Brad
them.
said,
I'm work with them over there. And if I can't do that, I'm going to look for a place. My plan is next year, maybe in the summertime or before summer,
all right.
Taking the house down.
All right. Well, what I'm confused about is why did you file for a certificate of compliance at this point? I thought it was because you're stretching your timeline out.
To be honest, I'm just following with my engineers, my civil engineer, my engineer, and everybody I hire. So, I thought I'm supposed to be doing it first. That was the first step because I think if you look back on those meetings we had,
yeah.
So you guys allow me to do the wall first, repair the wall, and do the wall, so I can move forward to the next step. That's what they've been happening. So
right. Those were phases because to do this work, you had to do the work by the lake before you could do, the new home.
Correct.
Obviously. So yeah, those were the phases of the project. But I thought you were actually spreading the project out, like, I don't know if it was a money issue or what, but you're stopping and you were looking to clear this off, but now
No,
your
no,
intention
I
of going
just,
ahead, keep it
yeah,
open.
just,
Don't
I
ha-
just, that way I said again, I thought I had to do this first inspection first. And so I can move forward to the next step. I'm sorry, that's what I might understand right now.
Yeah, because you don't really have to, unless there's a issue, that we have to step in. We would, if that slope collapsed, we would hear us coming back and asking what your intent was. But yeah, let's just keep working on it with this order. Then, if you're going to go ahead and demolish and rebuild within the year or by next year, leave it open. And Brad, do they have to withdraw the request for a certificate, or is that the cleanest way to do it?
That's the cleanest way to do it, and that could be done right now if necessary.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Is that okay? We'll just cross this off our list for now. You go ahead and build your project per your approved plans. When you're all done, then come back for that certificate of compliance. You don't have to do it phase by phase here. Okay.
Yeah,
Like
I'm good with that.
Yeah, let's do that. So as of right now, the certificate of compliance request for one is off our books. Okay.
Okay.
And you could just complete your project according to the approved order of conditions.
All right.
Okay. Sounds
Can I ask
good.
a question?
Any other comments?
I have a question, John.
Go ahead, Ken.
Brad, when you did your inspection, did you get a as-built plan from the engineer stating that that wall was built in accordance with the what was submitted?
We have that, yes.
So it's built in accordance with what they did, what they requested.
That's what the as-built says. Yep.
And then as part of the order and building of the wall, he was supposed to do all the plantings before we moved on.
So there are quite a bit of plantings there. So I mean, there's definitely some work that has been done. The only thing I questioned was, again, and I'm kind of new to the approval on this. When I looked at the number on the sheets, it looked just intuitively like quantitatively what was on the plan wasn't actually on site. Whether that's a concern of the commission or not, I don't know. I mean, there's certainly been quite a bit of planting that was done. I didn't take the time and effort with everything else we had to do in preparation for this meeting because realistically, there was that issue of the exposed dirt by the house, and I thought for sure there was going to be a new home being constructed there as well. So the plantings, the number and location and that's certainly something that can still be looked at.
Yeah, because part of the construction process of building the wall and stabilizing the wall towards the lake and back up the hill was to put the plantings in. The plantings, I think we had a meeting last year, and we had a great discussion on it. And then when he came back in for this final order, part of the order was to put the plantings in as a requirement, stabilizing the site and building these walls. So at a minimum, those should be put in as sooner than later, even before, I would say before the winter.
I got a comment about that.
Go ahead. What's the matter with that?
I mean, I spent the $9,000 in trees here and bushes, and I got sod. I have no room to do more plant. I don't know if you guys want me to plant something on water because I have no room. You guys can do another inspection if you like to, but it is no room.
Yeah, well, just stop right there. Your plan shows where those plants are supposed to go, I believe. All we're asking for is for you to just put those plants in where you said you were going to put them in, and the same number you said you were going to put them in. We're not asking for any more than you originally told us you were going to do. And then have your, engineer or botanist, whoever is signing off on it, to verify that has been done. That's all we're asking. We're not asking for anything more than what you told us you were going to do.
Yeah.
Correct, Ken?
That's it. Nothing more. Nothing less.
Yep.
Okay. I can do that, no problem. But once again, they should do that for me. I don't have to be calling, I'm paying them to do. Maybe, you know, it's some miscommunication somewhere in there. But I can try. Yeah, I can try and address that from tomorrow if you want.
Oh yeah. I mean, all you got to do is take your plan and get it to whoever's doing your plantings and say, put in these plants in these locations, and that's all we're asking for. We're not asking for anything more. All right. Is that okay, Ken?
That's perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else to add on this one? Okay, you're all set. That's it.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you.
All right, Brad. That was just the first one.
So you don't want the rest to be longer, then, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, I
I'll try to make the next one quicker for you.
All
so, 196 Oak Street. It wasn't complete on one of my most recent inspections, but I did get email today from the applicant that the roof leaders were just installed this week. So I would suggest that excuse me, I would suggest that the commission conditionally approve that. And if I go look at it and verify that that's the case, then we can just simply issue the certificate.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Rashid, is this your project?
Yes, sir. I just want to clarify. It's 196 and 194 Oak. It's all
196 and 194.
Yeah. Actually, the issue was with 190 gutters on 194. 196 were installed quite a bit back, and I was asking for partial release, but then I was told let's get all together, and then I had an issue with 194. So we're asking 194 and 196 both as like whole project.
So the certificate of compliance request is for the whole project. The street numbers may be different because keep in mind when the parent parcel subdivided, then the numbers change. So that may be why it's shown as the 196.
Okay.
So building wise, it may be different.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. I built 2 single-family home, 192 and 196, and then the multifamily was 194. So 192 was given certificate of compliance as a partial, and then the homeowner for 196 applied, and this was told to hold off because of 194. So yeah, I just want to clarify that is 196 Oak Street where gutters were installed long time ago, and 194 was missing, and since it was all one project, so yes, you're right, it may be a numbering issue. I just want to clarify.
Okay. All right. So we can do a conditional order, Brad, and you check this week, and we'll sign off if it's in place. Does the commission, everybody shake their head if they agree to that? Okay, sounds good. Okay, go on to the next one, Brad.
Okay, so I went out to South Street again for 577. So there's 2 orders on there, and I recommend that the commission issue both of those. I also recommend that the commission issue the ones for 0 Florence Street, 5 Rolling Hill Road, 8 Amherst Road, and also 787 Hartford Turnpike.
Okay.
And the 2 for Cherry Street, one is a partial for 62 Cherry Street, and one is for 58 Cherry Street. That's the one that we need to have some discussion on.
Okay. Do you want to have that discussion right now?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Okay. So I don't have the plan to show the commission, but this should be a site that the commission's very familiar with. The main issue with these 2 lots, there are abutting lots. There was a replication area that we've been struggling for years now to get completed. And that's really the main reason, I think, why we have some outstanding orders still there. Initially, when the project was filed, the 70 Cherry Street was lots 1 through 3, and then there was a separate one for 58 Cherry Street. the lots were also, there was another A&R plan that was done. So at one point in time, the replication area in the backyard there, the location of that changed, so it spanned 2 lots now, ultimately, because of the A&R subdivision plan that was done. So that replication area really spans both 62 Cherry Street and 58 Cherry Street. So between not long after the commission's last meeting, we got a request from the owner at 62 Cherry Street for the partial certificate of compliance for that lot. And part of that request, there was a replication area report and also a report from one of the engineers, but there really wasn't enough in both of those, which I'll touch base on in a little bit. Very recently, we got late last week, we got a request for a certificate of compliance for 58 Cherry Street. We also got a report from another engineering firm for that particular lot that says, it's a 1-page letter that essentially says the site's in compliance with the order and they recommend the certificate of compliance. All of those documents are on the Google Drive. I'm not sure if the commission's had any chance to look at it, but I'll briefly point out what they are. So the one that came in with the request for 62 Cherry Street was a report done in October 14th of 2019 by Northeast Ecological Services, and it's a fairly detailed report. It's about 6 pages long, and it's basically describing the replication area. And what it describes is that the replication area is complete in some areas, but not complete in other areas. And they also don't recommend finishing it necessarily in the location that's proposed because there's a better alternative. When I looked more closely at that report was actually done, it appears, for the owners of 58 Cherry Street, yet it came from the owner at 62 Cherry Street. The most recent one we got was from Land Planning, and that was dated August 5th of this year. That one was also for the owner of 58 Cherry Street, and that's the one that basically says the replication area looks good, the lot looks good, they recommend the certificate of compliance. We've had issues with this particular replication area. Way back we struggled getting it constructed. I questioned whether it was done right. Some more work was done. We were told it was done right. Nobody really requested the certificate. Now we have 2 recent reports, but they appear to be conflicting, and neither one of them, ultimately, the way I read it, tell me that the order of conditions is satisfied in its entirety. I think the best thing to do right now is to get those consultants out there, and I would attend with them and go over any discrepancies, or basically hear from both of them why they feel that this replication area meets the requirements or why they feel it doesn't meet the requirement or what needs to be done. But there's definitely some inconsistency there. I wouldn't really recommend that the commission issue the partial certificate or the other certificate, the individual one for 58 Cherry Street, without really finalizing this up. And I'd be happy to answer any more questions on that. I do believe that the owners may be, both property owners may be attending this meeting. I think I saw both of them log in long time ago when the meeting first started, but if they're here, I'll suggest the commission let them have the opportunity to speak as well.
All right. Do we have an owner for 58 Cherry Street here?
Yes, sir. We have Ryan and Catherine Webb for 58 Cherry.
Okay. You were the ones that had land planning, I take it, do the evaluation recently?
Yes.
Yep. And
we had some, we bought the property from a builder. I think you guys might remember this from last year, or perhaps. And so I'm guessing the builder is in parallel trying to release this as well, which may be part of the confusion here.
Okay.
As we're pursuing actions that direction.
Yep. And
person here.
Yep. And how about the owner for 62 Cherry Street? Do we have the owner?
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, this is Shannon Vasquez at 62 Cherry Street.
Okay. Yep. So we have two conflicting evaluations on the replication area, as you heard Brad say. And it sounds like the quickest way to resolve this is to get the two consultants together on site with Brad to go over this so that we can come up with one conclusion. And can you guys set that up for your specific consultants to be there?
So so this is Shannon from 62.
Yes.
So the report that I had shared with Brad for the compliance request was the
Right.
one from last year. And it was just
Correct.
purely, I actually didn't know, I never hired that gentleman. I didn't know that he ever came out. Kind of ignorance on our part. We thought the compliance had happened like years back, to Brad's point. Like we've been waiting for it to get finalized as well. Same situation as 58. We purchased the land, kind of acquired this replication area, but part of our closing was that the seller was going to complete it, you know, and so on. And so when I had reached out to Thompson and Liston just recently to ask about getting the replication map, he had said that he had this report, and that's what I had shared with Brad. But I would say that that most recent report that 58 has shared would probably be a better representation of what the replication area looks like, since the one from October is of last year. And Brad is, you know, very aware of kind of the conditions of the land has changed pretty dramatically since these conditions were put into place. I think 2014 is when they were put into place. And so when we closed in late 2016, 17, you know, all the plantings were done and everything. I wasn't aware when 58's lot was approved, there was a kind of amendment to all of that. But that was kind of my rationale for just kind of wanting to get my side of it squared away. From kind of a lot release perspective, when we just did a refinance and our closing attorney said, you know, you can just get your lot released if you've done everything, your due diligence, your plantings, everything's squared away. And that's why I had reached out to Thompson and Liston to see if they had anything in support. And James from Thompson and Liston wrote, you know, a letter saying it was in compliance and everything as well.
Brad, what would you like to do?
I would stand by my previous comments. I mean, I don't see anything in either of the packets we have that really says that either of those projects are in compliance, other than the one from land planning says it is. But based on you know, my experiences out there, and keep in mind, you know, we've been out there as part of the enforcement last year at 58 Cherry. I've been out there early this year to look at beaver activity at 62 Cherry. So I've had the opportunity to at least see what's happening in the replication area. I don't believe any construction work was done since the October report of last year till now. So unless something's physically been changed there, I wouldn't expect nature to take over and all of a sudden change what's in that October report and make that all of a sudden a compliant replication area, you know, summer of this year. There's nothing that would happen naturally there. So it really should be looked at to clear up the confusion. The information that was given to us at 62 Cherry really doesn't say that everything's in compliance. There's a report that says that some of the replication area was done, some of it wasn't. And then the letter from Thompson and Liston is very short and brief as well. So, and I guess my final point is, in past practice with these outstanding issues, the commission's been hesitant at releasing partials lately with these multiple lot orders because we know that things aren't getting done, particularly when you get to that last existing lot. So you may not want to consider releasing anything until you know that the project's 100% complete. And when I say that one, I'm referring to particularly the certificate of compliance request for 70 Cherry Street lots 1 through 3. Then, that's one you may want to see the entire project is done and not consider issuing partials for individual lots on it. So that's another thing to think about as well. But ultimately, in terms of the replication area, is that compliant? Well, there's just too much, confusion with what's been submitted to us. I mean, we literally have a report that was given to the owners of 58 Cherry Street that says it's not in compliance from one consultant, and then less than a year later, a different consultant is saying, for the same owner, is saying that their replication area looks good. So something needs to be sorted out there as well.
Yeah, so this is Ryan from 58 Cherry Street. So I'll definitely take the action to follow up between Thompson, Liston, and land planning to get a meeting organized so that we can understand the differences. And then I guess also got to understand how other people are getting reports about our property. So
right. And can you notify Brad too when if they're going to meet out on site, so Brad can be privy to that meeting? And
absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
So as far as the partial release for lots 1 through 3, since those plannings all occurred before 58's lot, excuse my ignorance, but as far as they got a new kind of condition when that builder made that lot buildable. I mean, lots 1 through 3, lot 70, the initial order of conditions, all of the plantings on that original replication area were done October 2017. I have the receipt from Adams Landscaping. He was the seller of the land. He completed the replication area. It was inspected. At that time, I think lack of knowledge of all of this, I didn't understand that we were the ones to complete the certificate of compliance, because I would argue back in 2017, had we done that, it probably would have been a quick, easy approval. He had just been out there, they were all planted, based on the replication map that Thompson and Liston had created. So I understand that that 58 lot when that builder came and all that changed, but that's kind of the rationale for the request for that partial release, because they're kind of exhaustive of one another.
I think Brad still wants somebody to be out there and take a look at it in his presence to sort this all through. So why don't you think about it? Get in touch with Brad as to how you want to address it with an engineer or a botanist, and we'll go from there. All right, Shannon.
All right. The land is like a swamp it's like a pond. There's nothing's gonna grow back there. So it's the conditions that were put into place, the replication map that was put into place years ago Brad's been back there. He and I have talked about this hundreds of times. I feel like it's, but okay.
Okay. Thank you. All right, Brad. Emergency certificate.
Okay. Bear with me 1 second. I gotta get to. Okay, so this is I bringing this to the commission's attention just to see if they want to consider entertaining the idea of issuing an emergency certificate for retaining wall repair. And I'll preface that with, if the commission does decide to do that, there's probably some conditions that I'd want to talk to you about as well. But to give you some quick background on this, this is a site that was redevelopment site not too long ago. There were a number of old structures on the site, and they were replaced with fairly new condominiums. Don't quote me, but I think there might be roughly 8 units there. And also, the thing you need to keep in mind with this particular site is access to the water currently is very minimum. And when I say minimum, the buildings are separated by roughly 5 feet, and there's also objects in between them for, HVAC, radon gas mitigation, things of that nature. I mean, those are just things I quickly observed walking down to the wall. I got a call from one of the unit owners there, and a couple of emails too last week. And I've also been working with the same owner for a number of months now, because they had actually picked up that the wall was failing. And this goes back way towards the beginning of the year, prior to the COVID pandemic, because I had actually talked to a contractor who was thinking about, or may have been contacted about doing the work as well, and wanted to talk to me about permitting and construction techniques and things of that nature. Since then, at least from what I can gather, the wall has absolutely failed sometime last week, and I'll bring up some pictures to show the commission what's going on. And I'll also add to that, I do have concerns with the portion of the wall that hasn't failed yet, because it does look like there's some threats there as well. And let me bring that up. So here's one shot of it. So you can see the material behind it's very loose and granular. And what I'm finding is that in some of the other blocks with the joints, they're continuously losing some material as well. So it's not surprising from the looks of it that the material behind it moved and will continue to do so. The wall, I didn't measure it at this point, closer to where it was safe to be near the entrance to one of the docks. It's close to 5 feet high from the top of the wall to the ground below it. And then of course you add whatever depth of footing is beneath that for the total wall height. Here's another picture of it. There's some erosion rills up in here that are continuing to happen as well. So you can see some of it here. So it looks like it's still, going to be active in this area. There's a survey stake up here towards the top right. When you look at the joints in the top of the stones near the wall there, you can see some material has started to move near those joints as well. So even though the owners, approached us about permitting many months ago, they hadn't gotten to that point yet. It looks like some consultants had been on site in preparation for that. I'm speculating based on the survey markers and things that are there. But more importantly now, rather than try to get a permit, I do think some immediate work needs to happen there. Let me just scroll through some others. Yeah, you can see the material starting to move behind it in other areas. Right, I have to scroll backwards now, so let me just go the other way. There's another picture of it there in the front. Just another quick photo. And just to give you a quick idea of access, this is it. You look through a number of areas on site. You have, at least a couple of passages like this, I think, between buildings, and then you get to the side property line and you're dealing with a fence in the side of a building. You look closely at abutting properties. That doesn't help much for access. You have that big building and parking lot next door. Was the KFC or still is the KFC. I'm not sure how it's being used now, but they have a couple of good sized retaining walls down near the front, near the water, as well as fencing and things of that nature. There's really no easy way to bring equipment or construct this at this point. If you would ask me how to do it, I'd say it's above my pay grade, that's for sure. You need somebody who's a better expert at it than I am, or probably other people in our office as well. You really need at this point, a structural guy that's familiar with this kind of thing to go out there, who can go out and look and propose a wall that can be built, either with hand tools or some other minimal effort, or come up with an idea of what can be imported by boat or possibly by barge for materials, or just start thinking outside the box and take a look at it. I'd be hesitant to say go find a contractor and get to work, because number one, we've experienced so many wall failures. Permitting wise, we always ask that an engineer do these things. And even when we had an engineer do it, for instance, when this was permitted not too long ago, well, not many years later, the wall's already failed. So I think you do want to have an engineering consultant involved overseeing it. I would just bypass the permitting part of it at this point, so that they can immediately get to work. But I do think that it needs to, at least a structural guy to come up there, tell us how it's going to be done, come up with an idea for, more importantly, some immediate mitigation and stabilization, so that the owners can continue using what's there and not run into issues with it, for instance, failing closer to the dock, and then the rest of your summer access is ruined as well. So I think the best way to get it done and work with the owners there that have kind of inherited this problem would be through emergency certificate. But I think that they need to find the right person to address the wall and tell them how to build it from there. So I think that at least the unit owners that I've been speaking with are here tonight. And then, of course, any questions the commission has, I can try to answer as well.
Okay. Yeah, do we have anyone who's a spokesman for the?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Thank you. My name is Dan Gorman. My wife Beth and I are representing the very small association. Brad is correct. It's a total of 8 units. The buildings were built about now 6 years ago. We've moved there since 2015. And I will say, like, almost immediately we saw that there was some erosion starting there. And then, as Brad pointed out correctly, late last fall, we started to see some real divots forming, and we were very concerned about that. And we have been doing our due diligence. We've had to undergo some legal issues, which have taken a ton of time, a ton of money, and actually didn't really lead us to much. Unfortunately, whoever built the wall really is no longer in business, and the builder basically came in after the fact, after that wall was built and signed off. So unfortunately, we've had to really start from zero. It's taken months and months. We've had many companies come out. We've had estimates all over the place. No one will commit to an estimate because, as Brad pointed out, it wasn't clear how to get anything there. It's impossible to get any Bobcat down there without either flying it with a crane, which the Knights of Columbus folks had said they might allow us to do if we had to. Barges are incredibly cost prohibitive. I mean, it's nothing our association could take on. And so most recently, we've had a surveying company out there, as noted on the markers, and that was Gervais. And then there is an engineer. Finley Engineering is also involved.
Dan, you've it's froze. You're frozen?
Hold on.
Hold on.
I see you, John. Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see and hear you now, but it froze for a while.
Okay, we're down on the Cape because we're too afraid we're going to fall into the lake.
Okay.
So anyway, we this is where we stand right now, and frankly, now it really is a safety issue. That wall is absolutely tumbled in. People who sit down there really are at risk. We've told people they really should avoid that. And then we have a lot of ideas of what we would like to do with that. We've also had a gentleman on the lake, probably known to folks on this commission, who's building a large house and he does wall work. And he's come out and looked at it, and he feels those large stones are almost impossible to lift by hand. So whatever is toppled in, you almost are going to need some sort of a backhoe or something to pull back.
Dan, we can't hear whoever's speaking. They're off camera. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's better.
Hi, Martha.
Okay. It's me.
Hi, Dan. Hi, Beth.
How are you? So we had Leo said if we could get a crane over at the Knights of Columbus and get some materials over there and a bobcat, he most likely could fix the wall with the materials that we have. The problem with what was built was there was no drainage at all at the bottom of it, and there was no drainage behind it. So he would put the drainage in, do the gravel on the bottom, use the existing blocks that we have, and then he would put, instead of having sand, would do grass so that it would be some sort of, you know, the runoff wouldn't be so great. That's where we're at right now. So I contacted Brad because it fell in the water actually, and I didn't know if this deemed an emergent, you know, condition. So that's kind of where we're at, and we don't know where to go from here.
All right, Brad, looking at those pictures, wouldn't the first thing, I mean, I think you're right, an emergency certificate's definitely in order, but how about some a silt fence down at the bottom of that, because obviously in a heavy rains, that material is going to start washing through. Can we do a silt fence or one of those silt skirts in the emergency certificate, and then the remainder of the emergency certificate, set a timeline for, you know, and I know you guys are already diligently working on a solution here. It just sort of formalizes it.
Silk skirt, can you explain
No, say
that
it
to
again.
me?
I muted you.
Can you explain what a
Yeah,
silk skirt is?
well, the walls failed and the material behind it. We're just worried that with some heavy rain, we haven't had heavy rains all summer, but once they do come, that site's going to get really bad really quick. And
Well, even after the last rain that we did have, that's when it actually tumbled in.
oh
So-
yeah, and so the material is going to start migrating into the lake, and we're concerned on the water quality. We don't want it. So when you go around town and you see these construction projects near wetlands, you'll see just a little 2-foot high fabric fence that holds back silt, and somebody could stake it in along the water line, and at least that's something. And one of the and on lakes, sometimes they put these booms out there with a fabric that's weighted to the bottom when you can't, you know, put a regular silt barrier in.
Right, okay.
Ken would know. Ken, what's your opinion, Ken, on how do we keep the material from migrating until they can figure out a solution here? Wattles, could wattles work at the bottom, or
Waves would probably destroy them. You probably need some type of something a little bit more hardy than that, either a silt fence or a skirt, like you were saying. One of the two.
Okay.
John, if I may.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is one of the reasons why I think you need to have a consultant on board, because of a number of things that could come into play. Number one, just a silt fence. I agree with Ken. I mean, it's not gonna. I mean, even though that material is granular, what's going to happen is those blocks and that material is going to move, and the silt fence is going to be level.
Yeah, it's gonna. Oh, you would have
first
to.
time something happens.
Yeah.
So I'm not concerned about, you know, normal erosion control things there as much as getting it supported. You know, whether they, you know, sandbag it or do some other things in that area. The other thing too is, you know, you get a geotech type structural guy that comes in and looks at the wall. They may come up with ways to either sheet the water away from what's behind the wall.
Right,
you know,
right.
they may have recommendations to, you know, to tarp the area or do something there.
Yep.
You know, moving the water in certain locations may or may not help it, but it's been done on other wall failures, so it's, you know, things like that to consider. I wouldn't want to direct them how to do it, because, you know, it's really something that a consultant should come in and tell them how to do and oversee. And
I mean,
the wall itself is going to need a building permit too, so they'll have to apply for that. Normally, if the wall is under 10 feet, then they won't need a engineer per building code for it. But I think for construction control for something like this, they should just have somebody overseeing that as well.
Yeah, no, what I was recommending, Brad, was not a, you know, the final solution to how to minimize the more failure on that. It was just a little preventative thing. And I like the idea of that sandbags just to, you know, go around that breached area. And if materials do start to wash down, it gives you a bit of a barrier. And the whole wall could tumble down the next time too. We don't know. But yeah, somebody should be looking at this, real professionals, really quick. And I know you guys are doing that.
We have an engineer that is going to do that.
Is that Jay Finley? Is that Jay?
Yeah, Jay Finley.
Okay.
And he seems to be familiar with the water. My only concern, what you said, Brad, about a building permit was that they didn't get a building permit prior, the first time this was built. So I don't understand why we would need one the second time it was built.
So the answer to that is any wall that's 4 feet or higher requires a building permit. Which
we measured it, and it was 4 feet. It was at 4 feet.
It's top of wall to bottom of footing. So
okay.
As I mentioned earlier in conversation, at one point it was about 5 feet just from the top of the wall at the high end to ground below. And then you add the footing to that. Closer to the wall failure, it's probably not as high, but it's something that's definitely 4 feet when you look at it from top of wall to bottom of footing.
So do you know why there wasn't a building permit out on it originally? Because then maybe that would have prevented the failings in the first place.
Yeah, our office doesn't issue building permits. You'd have to talk to the building inspector.
Okay.
One other question, just point of concern here is any of the builders that have come out said they can't do anything till the water level is lowered. Right now, the water level literally splashes up halfway up the first level of block. So I don't think they can do much at this point until the lake level is decreased.
Yeah.
Well, I think you can address some of the concerns that I would have about trying to mitigate continued failing. So, you know, whether you try to somehow stabilize what looks like it may be within that failure plane, and also, you know, if redirecting any of the rainwater or any of the surf that hits the area, trying to prevent some of that can help it as well. So those are things that you get an engineer out there to evaluate, can come up with ideas and plans to at least keep it from continuing to happen, hopefully.
Okay.
And yes, ideally the winter drawdown does help with access, as well as, you know, particularly for the footing, because the footing's on the water. So when you have that, that winter drawdown that starts typically, you know, late November roughly. Ken would have a better answer probably, but, you know, that's something that people have taken advantage of for walls in the past.
So the timeline so I'm understanding what we need to do. We have the engineer come out and tell us how to mitigate the failing of the wall so that more materials don't fall into the water. Then we need to get a building permit as well for the wall and a plan. And do we come back to you at that point, or is this going to be considered an emergent where we just, I don't know, do we have to put it on the docket again, or do we just come to you guys?
Well, part of the issue, and here in the time frame now, this should be discussed with the commission. The emergency certificate is to really mitigate a immediate health and human safety issue. So if they're good for a maximum of 30 days, if the commission could issue one and you could come in and you could build that wall within 30 days, then that's the way that you should do it, with that emergency certificate. If it's something that's not going to be done through until, drawdown or after, for instance, that's still months away from now. And at that point, from a regulatory aspect, you should technically permit that, in my opinion. So you should still be going through the notice of intent process for that. But in the meantime, there are certainly things that can be done, like I said, to try to mitigate ongoing failure. If we need to issue, or if the commission needs to issue an emergency certificate to allow that work to be done, that's something I would recommend. Again, making sure that it's overseen by a professional so we're not making things worse, and have the certificate designed for that mitigation work, and then come back for the wall work if that's months away. File the permit process for that. It's tough from a regulatory perspective for me to say do the wall under the emergency certificate if it's not something that's going to be done immediately.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Understood.
Yeah, it's the best we can do. So is the commission amenable to the emergency certificate? Martha?
Yes.
Jason? Jason? Are you amenable to the, you're muted, Jason.
I'm well aware. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, I'm amenable to that.
Okay. Bob?
Okay.
And Ken?
Yes.
Okay, and I am too. Yep, so we'll be giving you an emergency certificate, but just, get your engineer, whoever you hire, to figure out how to mitigate further failure of that wall for the time being, and then the ultimate solution. Okay.
So when I get back, I can call Jay tomorrow, and I will tell him what we discussed, and he can get that work, or at least give me suggestions on how to do that, and I can get somebody to do that. And then at that point, when does the 30 days start?
When we issued a certificate, right, Brad? Is that correct?
That's correct. So what I was going to suggest next, if there's going to be a bit of lag time between when your consultant can get out there and recommend some things, whether that be a day or a few days or a couple of weeks, we could issue the certificate following his or her inspection. That way you have the entire 30 days to try to do the work.
That's good.
Rather than be chasing the certificate and trying to complete it the last 2 days it's active or something like that.
Okay. One other question is, what was I going to say? Oh, the building inspector, I shouldn't get hung up on that as well for the 30 days. Because I feel like time's a ticking, and I'm like, every time I have to wait for another thing, it could delay things. So
For the building permit.
For the building permit, that should be pretty quick, right?
The building permit is for the wall construction itself. So
Okay.
you'll need a permit for that. It wouldn't hurt to contact the building inspector at this point. Just let them know what's going on.
Okay.
And they may reach out to me as well. But you can tell them that you anticipate you're going to have at least a 4-foot wall there. What do you need for a permit? And because of the failure that's ongoing, do you need anything else from them at this time? But that doesn't sound like the wall is going to be done in the emergency certificate. So you'd be applying for the building permit after you get the permit from the Conservation Commission, actually.
Okay.
So that would be at a future time.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good night. All right, Brad, let's go move on to enforcement orders, 284 to 286 South Quinsigamon Ave.
Just give me 1 second to try to get there. Apologize, it's just the pictures are loading slowly and I want to make sure you see the right one. Okay, so here's the first of two I'll probably show. So this is a duplex that actually came through the commission years ago. I think at least 3 of you were on the commission at the time. If you recall, there was a arborvitae barrier that was put into place as part of this as well, which is now gone. Here's one side of the duplex. This is the 284 side. Where I'm standing in this photo is 282 South Quinsigamon. It's a fairly narrow strip of land owned by the town. And right behind me would be the superseding order of conditions site at 280 South Quinsigamon Avenue. So I had actually stopped by to look at that particular project. And when I was walking the perimeter, I noticed some recent earth activity there. This wetland flag that's here was put into place as part of the 280 South Quinsigamon project. And in a nutshell, you know, there's the extent from what it looks like standing on the town piece of where the fill's been placed. There were arborvitaes that were up and all through in this area that are now gone. The vegetation, other vegetation has been cut. Are they in the wetlands or not? If they're not in it, they're definitely very close to it. I do remember it was very, very tight behind that duplex when that went in years ago. So it's, you know, it's at a minimum buffer zone very close to the wetlands or possibly wetland fill as well. The owner of that particular side of the duplex contacted me back in May, I believe it was, and I had one discussion with him and had asked him to you know, come up with more information. There was allegedly another party involved as part of this work, I believe, that was planning to take place back in the spring. I told him to talk to that person, come back to me with a plan of what you want to do, and I'll tell you how you have to proceed. I never heard back from that gentleman. I have tried calling him a few times and have not been able to connect with him. So I have not got in touch with the owner yet, but I do see that, you know, obviously the work's been done. And I think I may have, give me 1 second, I may have the aerial shot for it as well. It kind of gives you no, for some reason that's not in there. But anyway, if you went to, you know, our GIS or Google Earth or any aerial type app, you'll see the arborvitaes that were there, and you know, how that's been removed. So I guess the question is at this point, you know, how does the commission want to handle this? Ideally, I would have been able to talk to the homeowner by now and find out from that individual what had happened. But clearly, you know, it's work that should have been permitted. You know, there's a minimum buffer zone violation. So do you want to issue an enforcement order at this point? Do you want me to try to connect with them first? What are your thoughts on it?
My thought, Brad, would be go with an enforcement order and request them to be, you know, come into the next meeting. And in the enforcement order, just say cease and desist all, you know, further grading site work, and bring them in. Obviously, that's grounds enough with the arborvitaes being gone. So that's my opinion. Martha, what would you say?
I would agree at this point. I mean, we need to talk to the homeowner, find out what's going on. They need to. It sounds like they didn't follow up after the discussion with Brad, so they just decided to go ahead on their own.
Right.
And they don't understand the parameters. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jason.
Yeah.
Jason.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
Bob.
I agree with the enforcement order. I don't see any point of their coming in at this before that. I think we should issue an enforcement order and have them talk to Brad and provide develop a notice of intent for their work.
Yeah.
And I don't see any point of their coming into the commission at this stage. They should develop their, Brad can tell them what they have to do.
No, I mean, we do the enforcement order right out of the gate. But I was thinking having them just come in for the next meeting anyhow, and whether they're coming in with a notice of intent as to what they're doing. But I think this at a minimum looks like some replication in terms of
exactly my point.
Yeah,
exactly my point. That's my point. That coming before us isn't going to solve anything. I mean, they have to develop their plans.
Right.
That's what they want to do, and at some point, obviously, come into us. But cease and desist, and hire someone to tell them what to do right.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're both pretty much on the same page. You're just having them do it right up front. Ken?
Yes, I agree.
All right. Okay, Brad, so let's do it. Enforcement order with a cease and desist.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a requirement to provide a NOI.
Yeah, well, they're going to have to go and try to reestablish where this wetland line is. Definitely. So they'll need some wetland scientists to do soil corings and use the aerials and try to reestablish it.
Okay, understood.
Okay. And we have one last item. It's a project update on 6 Sherrill Drive.
Give me 1 second there. I'm actually getting these to load quicker, so I won't keep you waiting so long.
All right.
Okay, so I was out there about a week and a half ago. The applicant had mentioned that they had done the bolded work. The commission last time talked about the replication area, and the original order called for the fence, the vegetative, and the boulder barrier. So there was the question of whether or not the boulder barrier would be sufficient at this time. So I thought I'd just take a picture of it, share it with the commission. So that's really what's there. There's around the corner heading towards the street a little bit. So it's the boulders as you head towards the street are a little bit more pronounced. And then as you head towards the back of the property, not as much. So, kind of what I think this was really the outstanding item in terms of what needed to be done in the more immediate future. The other thing was monitoring the replication area. But if the commission decides they still want that fence and vegetative barrier, or if the boulders are sufficient, we can let the applicant know, and actually he may still be at the meeting at this point as well. So I'll just open that up for discussion.
All right. Martha, you want to start? What do you think? Well, Brad, first off, what did the order call for? Call for the boulders?
Well, the order called for them to submit us the detail for that. So it was the boulder, vegetative, and fence barrier. We never got that, and that was right. And that was part of what the enforcement order was for.
Okay.
Since then, there was an updated plan, not part of the order, but there was a plan that was presented that showed those things. And then at the more recent meeting, the question was brought up by the applicant, well, would the boulders be sufficient? Or do you, you know, does the commission want more? So that's why I went out there to basically view what was there, provide the commission with pictures, and if you think that's great, great, and if you think you want more, you know, tell them you want more.
All right. Martha, what's your opinion?
So the idea of the boulders would be that they would delineate the wetland area from the driveway and keep them separate?
It'd be more of a permanent delineation of where the wetland, you know, to keep them from encroaching, you know, moving it out. It's just like that prior site we looked at. We had abrevieties alone, and they went and cut the abrevieties down. So the boulders are more of a permanent type of a barrier, but I think we requested the other items because we wanted a further barrier. You can take wheelbarrows of debris and just go between the boulders and dump them. Now, if you had a fence there, you know, just a split rail fence and in a vegetative barrier, you now have greatly reduced that ability to freely go through there. But that was the intent, Martha. And now we're just looking at only boulders. So,
all right. And this is the property where we were talking also about the plantings.
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So sounds like that has yet to be done.
Right.
And I have a question. I'm looking at one of the pictures that Brad had shared. I have it up separately, and it looks like there is a stone-lined channel from the driveway going in between the boulders. And I'm just wondering, is that meant to be a diversion for the runoff on that one? Yes. For the driveway runoff?
So just if I could speak, I mean, it looks like it was, and I don't think I have, well, let me see if, yeah, so I didn't capture the other side of it. I'm past it at this particular photo.
Actually,
there's certainly going to be runoff by the driveway and in that area. And there's, you know, at least by eye in this picture too, there might have been a little bit of a possible high point between the edge of the driveway and the, you know, the natural growth that's in the background there. So it looks to me like it was an attempt to try to control any channelized flow from the impervious as it runs down into that area.
Okay. Yep. So it's breaking up some of the force of the water as it runs off. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I do have more recent pictures with more, you know, the growth on it, if you like. But anyway.
For what are you talking, for the replication area, Rashid?
For the whole area, you know, now I don't know when Mr. Stone went there. That's nice of him, but I have taken some pictures today, and it looked really, honestly, really beautiful because all the grass has grown, and we had extensive discussion last time and time before, and I think the board decided that the boulders are pretty big and they're nice size. And actually, yes, in the back, the boulders were only required up to the, I think, flag 19, but we went kind of really further, and we had some, you know, relatively smaller boulders. We had huge boulders we bought. We went all the way to 19, and then we had some more boulders, which we went even around that too. But anyway, I do have more recent pictures. If you like, I could just show you. But last time we discussed and agreed, we did plant the trees, but you guys want to see the growth. And I have conveyed the property already, but I have made the new owner sign the document that they will water all the area. So, you know, we don't have these new plants we have planted die on us. So they will be doing that. And I know we had a monitor. But anyway, we had extensive discussion. But those plants were planted, and we agreed that these boulders are pretty big. So at this point, if Mr. Stone make a visit, and he would, most board tend to agree that we don't need the fencing there anymore, because we have put a lot of big boulders there. But we left on Mr. Stone's visit, and that's where we were. And I have more recent pictures if you like.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the boulders look.
Go ahead, Martha.
I think the boulders look fine, and I'm happy with the boulders.
Alone, without a fence behind it. Okay.
Yeah.
Jason.
I'm comfortable with it.
All right, Bob.
Well, I have a question for Brad, because it doesn't appear in that picture clear to me. That soil near the driveway, is that soil, or is that gravel, or what is that? Or has it been hydroseeded? When you show the rock,
it was hydroseeded.
Oh, all right. So all
yeah,
that's going to be grass. The intention is it's all going to be grass.
Right. It was hydroseeded. There may have been some growth since this visit again. The pictures you see were about a week and a half ago.
All right.
And now it's all lush green.
I'm all set. I'm all set.
Okay. Ken.
Yes, it looks fine.
Okay. All right. So the stones alone are going to be okay. All right, Brad.
Thank you.
And that's it for now. All right. I think that's the end of our meeting. If somebody would like to make a motion or have anything further to discuss tonight, say it now.
Sure.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Martha?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
And John Ostrowski, aye. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you.
Aye.
Good night.
Thank you.